G'day and welcome to Daily Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. I'll start with the usual housekeeping. If you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already, can you hit that subscribe button for me? I really appreciate it. And thumbs up, thumbs down if what I'm saying makes sense or doesn't. I've been quite aware over the past, it's been a really weird thing actually, past couple of days, so over the weekend, sort of starting on Friday, felt flatter in mood, and it was almost like the energies were a lot darker, and I don't know whether that was just me, but it's like it didn't matter how much sleep I was getting, that it didn't feel enough, that I was finding it quite sluggish, and was trying very hard through that to not get worried about it and not force myself into thinking that there was something wrong. But it's almost like something has shifted today, and it felt like it's a lot brighter today. So I'm not entirely sure whether that is to do with the energies, and I have a feeling it might be that the weekend was very much about burrowing down and really nurturing and supporting ourselves, and just almost getting through. And it's like I know I've mentioned it before, but it's very much like being on a roller coaster or turbulent sea, and it was like the weekend was very stormy, and it was sort of going more inwards and really nurturing and looking within. And today feels like it's more brighter, and I've had a lot of different stories come in today as well, which has been quite weird, or not, as the case may be. But it's almost like things are feeling like there is more hope going off out there, which I'm not entirely sure of, because I don't have a telly. I don't really pay attention to what's going off in the main media, but it has that real sense that something has shifted, and we're able to sort of look at things a little bit more clearly at the moment. So with that in mind, yeah, we'll see what crystal comes out to go in with this, and see what more stories come out. So we've got carnelian today. So very much our sacral and the type of world. So it almost feels like that this lighter of touch today, that it's almost like we've shifted onto more of that timeline that is our creative flow, the type of world we'd like to create, that's coming more to fruition. That it's almost been difficult over the weekend to hold our flame, to hold our light, as the darker swirling energies are going around us, and that today we don't have to protect it quite so much, that it is actually shining brighter on its own. I get the sense though that it's almost like this is a little bit of a reprieve, and that it may be that in the next couple of days we're back in that more darker energy again, and it's just being aware of that and really holding that creativity and that space within as to the type of world we'd like to sort of go forward into. Yeah, so very much around that's the sort of energy that I'm sort of getting out of that at the minute, and just really flowing more spontaneously as well, and really sort of digging deep into that world that we want to bring in around. So I'm hoping this is making sense. And I'm hoping this is not feeling too rushed either. If you focus on the cards for me, we'll see what else sparks. what creative spark comes out for the further storytelling. And split those. That feels right. So we've got the key, the lily, and my mama bear. Okay, so I think the first card, the key. So the key to this for me is very much sitting into our creative self, into our chalice, and aware of the emotional sensuality, emotional flow that we've got going off, and how that is impacted from an external source. And it's really looking into that and really getting a sense of where that's coming from. Does it belong to us, or does it belong to somebody else? Is the way that we're choosing to walk forward, is that the way that we would like to go forward, or is that coming from somewhere else? One of the things I've noticed throughout my life is that when I'm really in my sacral space, when I'm really in the flow of the world that I expect to walk through, somehow that's supported, that I am protected in that way and not questioned. That because I have a real clear sense of the way I'm going forward, really in that creative space, that I'm met in the same way on an external level. And it's like, even though there's a lot of restrictions out there, I tend not to pay attention to it. And a lot of that is because I don't have any sort of media influence in my house, or in my life particularly. And I just go out and do what I want to do in the way that I want to do it. And 99% of the time, I'm not met with obstacles within that way. And that, to me, is a real key to this. That if we can really sense the energy we want to meet and the way we want to go forward, that it is possible for it to happen in that particular manner. So really with the carnelian is knowing that a lot of the world that we live in is what we create. So I'm not suggesting that we have any control over the media, because we don't, but we have control over how that impacts us, and how we choose to navigate forward is very much up to us, and that is the key to it. So, but we need to give ourselves the space and the time and that nurture and the love to really feel into the type of world or the type of experience we would like to have, and start walking in that manner. And sometimes we will hit obstacles, and then that gives us an opportunity to really get a clearer idea as to whether that is the way that we want to meet, or that's what we want to experience in going forward. I'm hoping this is making sense. So the lily is about health, but it's also about business, but more about health really at the minute for me. So really giving ourselves space and time and nurturing ourselves. And if we're not forcing ourselves into a way of being that doesn't feel comfortable, so if we're trying to walk a narrative that doesn't make sense to us, then that can make us quite stressed and agitated, and that can have a huge impact on our physiological health and emotional health. So the key is really to sit in our creativity, in our sacral space, and get that real sense of the way we want to walk forward, how we want to flow. And as we do that with more clarity and certainty, the more we'll be supported in that, and the healthier we feel. There's been a lot of discussions on different boards recently that people are feeling younger. So it is letting go of the stresses that can actually negatively impact us, so that we can actually flow forward better and actually support ourselves more, allow ourselves to sleep when we're having bad weekends, not getting too stressed if we don't succeed in doing something, that we actually put that into in a way that makes sense, and not berate ourselves over it, but really get that idea that now is not the time. And being more, if we put things into place that restricts us, then that can become agitating as well, and actually stresses out further because we're not achieving what we want to achieve. And it's just letting go of that and allowing ourselves that freedom to actually flow more, without having constraints there. As I say, I'm really hoping this makes sense. So the last card is the polar bear. So it's finding our protection and realizing that we are protected. We are protected in this world. And part of that protection is going back into grounding into Gaia and connecting with Source, and just allowing our creative flow to go. If we feel the need to sing, sing. If we feel the need to cook, cook. It's enabling us to do those things that brings us joy and brings us contentment. So that nurtures our soul, because if we're forcing our soul to do something that doesn't fit, that doesn't feel right, we can become quite sick and more tired, because we're going against what our creative self actually wants. We're going against what our soul actually needs. And sometimes it feels like we don't have a choice in that, because we have to bring money into our lives. We have to obey the rules, as it were. But there is an element of that, but we choose to actually follow those rules. So to really protect ourselves, to protect our new way of being, to protect our souls, it's really giving ourselves permission and time to really sit into our sacral space and really have a feel and a sense as to where we want to go, where our emotions are taking us, so that we can flow better. And what I have found time and time again in life is that if you're stepping through from that space, the universe supports you in that. Source supports you in that, and you have that extra protective layer, and you're less inclined to be questioned, because you're aligned with yourself. You're really fully sat within yourself. And if we've already done the work inside and we understand what we're doing, and we're authentically moving forward, it's all matching up, we're less inclined to hit trouble spots. We're less inclined to be questioned as to the reasons why we're living our lives in the way that we're living. And we become more free to flow in that way. I know it sounds really weird, but it really has that sense of that. Numerous years ago, I was on a bus, and a fight erupted around me, and really bizarrely, and it still feels bizarre now thinking about it, I ended up in this cocoon. It was like I had that bear come up behind me and hold me and protect me, and I could see everything that was going off around me. I could witness the violence that was actually happening to the bus, and the anger and the stress and the fear that was happening to everybody else around me. but it was like I was in this bubble. I was really protected by this polar bear element, this mama bear element. And I just ended up, the bus pulled up and I ended up just standing up. I didn't engage with anybody. I just ended up walking off the bus. I went down and got a taxi and got myself home. And it was a really weird sensation that I was in this cocoon of safety, even though everything else around me was actually going to complete and utter pot. It was just this major violence going off around me. And I didn't feel worried. I didn't feel scared. It was like my spirit guides, my helpers, my guardian angels, whatever you want to call them, just came over me and really held me in that moment and enabled me to witness but move through all the turmoil. And I think part of the reason why I'm repeating this story for you all is that I really strongly feel that by going into our sacral area and really getting a sense of the way we want to walk forward, even though we're witnessing the destruction that's going off around us, that we're witnessing the turmoil, we're noticing the changes in the energies, but really connecting into source, really connecting into that higher vibration, and knowing the way that we want to walk. We know the way that if we really sit within ourselves, we honestly know where it is the most safe for us to be. And it's when we push ourselves to not go there, when we push ourselves into noticing the anger or destruction, when we stop witnessing but join in, that we start to become wobbled, that we start to become impacted. So for me at the moment, the key to this, to navigate these different energies over the next couple of weeks, is it's not to ignore them. I'm not suggesting that, but it's to actually really go in, have a real sense of the type of world that you would like to be a part of, really have a feel of the energies you would like to actually participate in, pulling over, speaking to your guides, bringing in your guardian angels, really connecting with source and putting that protective layer around so that you can negotiate and navigate what's going off around and witness it. So it's not that you're not noticing, it's witnessing it, but from a beautiful place of safety. And by protecting ourselves and not stepping into the angst and the negative narrative, that gives us the opportunity to continue to keep ourselves well, to manage and maintain our health within on all levels. So it's also like noticing if you want to eat a load of takeaway or stuff that's not healthy for you, it's really sitting and saying, okay, why am I attracted to that? What is it from that is actually what do I think is going to, how do I think that's going to soothe me? What is it that I'm actually reaching for? Is it because I'm nervous and I want to say something and I just need to block my mouth by eating something? It's sort of that sort of thing, and it's making decisions based from a full authentic space. It's having that full awareness, and we may still choose to have that thing that may not be healthy for us, but we know exactly why we're doing it. It's like being on that bus was not necessarily healthy for me, but I was able to protect myself and walk off. And this world and the turbulences around us is not healthy for us and can cause us a lot of distress and fear, etc. But we can actually cover ourselves, protect ourselves, give ourselves the space and the time to heal, to sleep, to nurture ourselves, so that when we do have to navigate through the turmoil, we can actually do it with a protective cloak around us, so that we can actually flow in the way that feels better for us and works, keeps us protected and supported. So I'm hoping this makes sense and is resonating for some people out there. So carnelian, so very much that sacral space and the world that we're creating. And we can do that now. We don't have to wait for that. That as we get more of a sense of what we would like to expect and how we would like to be treated, we can start treating ourselves in that way and really pull on our protective cloak and have Mama Bear there to defend us. But it's not so much defending, it is really supporting us as we're moving forward. And I have found that if I walk in the way that I would like to walk in, fully aligned with it, then I meet very little resistance while I'm doing that. I've meet very little obstacles in doing that. So anyway, I hope that makes sense to people out there. I'm just going to see what sound comes through for us all tonight. Thank you very much for joining me again. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I wasn't available yesterday. I hope that I'm back again tomorrow. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Bye for now.